I told my dad why none of his 4 daughters have given him grandkids. I was 31 when my dad cornered me at his birthday dinner about why I was still single. He'd been holding court at the head of the table and started complaining to everyone about how his golf buddies were all becoming grandfathers while he had nothing to show for it. He kept saying how disappointed he was that we were all wasting our potential and that he'd earned the right to grandchildren after everything he'd sacrificed for us. I finally snapped and told him the truth. None of us wanted kids because we all remembered exactly what it felt like to grow up as his daughter. My oldest sister Maya moved to Boston the day after graduation and only comes home once a year. My sister Riley told her therapist she'd rather die alone than risk becoming a parent. Quinn got her tubes tied at 27 and didn't tell anyone until last year. And I've ended 3 relationships with men who wanted kids because I couldn't bring myself to say yes. My dad looked genuinely confused, asking what any of that had to do with him. So I reminded him about the time he made Maya rewrite her college application essay 17 times in one night until she threw up from stress because it wasn't Harvard material, or when he told Riley she was painfully average and that she should get used to disappointment because she'd never be special. He used to compare Quinn's weight to models in magazines at the dinner table and ask her if she really needed seconds. And he missed every single one of my dance recitals for 12 years because he was building a future for this family. He tried to interrupt me, but I kept going. I told him about how we learned to hide our report cards even with straight A's because one A- would trigger an hour-long lecture about settling for mediocrity. How we posted our test scores on the refrigerator ranked from highest to lowest. How he'd go completely cold whenever we disappointed him and only show affection when we achieved something he could mention to his colleagues. How we had to earn hugs. The worst part was how he weaponized our love for each other. He'd tell Maya that Riley was more naturally talented. Then he'd tell Riley that Quinn had better work ethic. Then he'd tell Quinn that I was the one with real potential. We grew up thinking we had to compete with our own sisters for our father's approval, instead of just being loved for existing. My dad started getting defensive, saying he pushed us because he wanted us to be extraordinary. But I reminded him that all 4 of us are on medication for anxiety and depression. Maya has panic attacks at work whenever her boss gives feedback. Riley hasn't pursued a single dream because she's convinced she'll fail at everything. Quinn spent 5 years in treatment for an eating disorder and still can't look at herself in mirrors. I've been in therapy for 6 years trying to believe my worth isn't measured by my achievements. I explained that none of us could imagine putting a child through that pressure. We were all terrified we'd inherited his impossible standards, even though we knew intellectually we'd parent differently. But the fear of accidentally making our kid feel how we felt growing up was paralyzing. The risk of continuing the cycle wasn't worth it. He got angry and started listing his sacrifices: the private schools, the piano lessons, the college tuition, the house in the right zip code. I had to explain that spending money on children isn't the same as loving them. A good parent doesn't make their kid feel like they're constantly being graded. A good parent doesn't treat love like a performance bonus that has to be earned quarterly. My dad kept insisting he did everything because he loved us and wanted us to have the best life possible. But I told him that the best life is worthless if you spend your entire childhood feeling inadequate. Success means nothing when you're never allowed to feel proud of it, because there's always someone better, always another level, always another way you fell short. None of us ever felt like we were enough. We felt like investments that never delivered the returns you wanted.